So one of the great ironies of literary history is that De Quincey had his most bizarre, perverse opium visions in the same house in which William Wordsworth wrote some of his greatest nature poetry. De Quincey lived in Dove Cottage after the Wordsworths moved out, and in Dove Cottage, De Quincey started imbibing in opium in a very extreme way, and it is there where he had the visions that you read about of the expanding buildings and the stretching of time. You'll note that in Confessions, De Quincey gives a very interesting description of Dove Cottage, and I'm pointing this out as a way, again, of noting De Quincey's relationship to Wordsworth, a relationship that is both worshipful and rebellious at the same time. De Quincey lives in Dove Cottage, partially because his master Wordsworth lived there, but what he does in Dove Cottage is radically different than certainly what Wordsworth did or would have done. Bizarrely, Wordsworth, it appears, took no opium ever in his entire life, even though he was with Coleridge and opium very frequently, the great opium eaters of the generation. So in preparing readers for his opium hallucinations, De Quincey says the following: "Let there be a cottage, standing in a valley, 18 miles from any town, no spacious valley, but about 2 miles long by 3/4 of a mile in average width, and benefit of which provision is, that all the families resident within its circuit will compose, as it were, one larger household, personally familiar to your eye, and more or less interesting to your affections," and so on. Let it, however, around this cottage, not be spring, nor summer, nor autumn, but winter in his sternest shape. This is a most important point in the science of happiness. And then De Quincey goes on to give a famous description of his love of winter. Let the candles be lighted at 4 p.m. Let the teapot be put on. Bring out the carpets. Bring out the blankets. The more howling the snow, the better. It's this lyrical paean to domesticity, snugness, interiority, which again is quite in contrast to Wordsworth's sense of, oh, let's look outside, let's walk outside, let's move outside, let's climb mountains, let's walk along creeks, let's move over bogs and fells. Whereas De Quincey likes to be inside with the shades drawn. Why? Because his life is totally interior. So the winter house becomes a metaphor for the opium addict's head. The idea that the action is in the dark chamber, the warm dark chamber where one is stagnant, does not move. So here again, De Quincey is both Wordsworth and the reverse of Wordsworth at the very same time.